Today, our 2-minute training question is, why is listening more important than speaking when you're leading a small group or a pod? And to illustrate this, we want to go back to a story from Scripture, which is Jesus walking with the disciples to Emmaus. So Tanya, tell us a little bit about that story.
Yes, of course. So, in the story of the road to Emmaus, these two men are walking and Jesus arrives, but they don't recognize Jesus. And Jesus asks them, and they're speaking among themselves about, what just happened at Calvary. And Jesus asks them, what just happened? What's going on? You don't know what's going on? Jesus just died on the crucifix. And so, they just keep on talking about the events, and then these two men invite Jesus into their homes. Still, they don't recognize Jesus until Jesus breaks the bread, and that's when they see Jesus. Jesus is revealed, and that is the story of the road to Emmaus.
So this illustrates a really important point for us. Jesus knew everything that happened, right? Now his disciples, when they're walking, they don't know that it's Jesus that they're walking with. Just like a lot of times your teens or your children in your small group, they're not going to know that they're walking with Christ when they're answering questions, when they're sitting and trying to grow as disciples. You are Christ to them in that moment. But instead of just recounting the story, because Jesus obviously knows what happens, he could have told them in more detail than they told him. He asked them questions to get them talking, and he spends almost the whole walk with them listening to something that he already knows, because he knows the power of getting them talking and being a good listener. It's so important that we understand how to get our children and how to get our teens talking about their lives, about their faith, about their families, about the things they struggle with, whatever it may be that they bring that week to your small group. That we get them talking and that we really practice good listening, just like Jesus shows us in the road to Emmaus. So work on being a good listener this week. Remember that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should at least be listening twice as much as we're speaking, if not more. So work on that this week as a pod leader, as a small group leader. Listen more than you speak.